Hello Lifepro, it is Amber Kivett. I wanted to share with you, as I've been reading some posts in our VIP group and in our regular group about questions about what you can do for restless leg syndrome and plantar fasciitis. I am a professional in treating both of those conditions, and I have used a lot of the Lifepro devices with all of my clients, including myself, for the last 2 years to help in eliminating restless leg syndrome and lower leg pain as a whole. Here's the thing, if your feet aren't feeling fabulous, then you don't ground the same way, which means you can't move the same way. If your feet and your ankles are not grounding and moving appropriately, then we experience knee pain. And then from knee pain works all the way up to hip pain, because the knee is a hinge joint, which means it's just meant to open and close. So it's not meant to teeter-totter and twist and rotate. It's just meant to open and close. But the knee is what attaches the foot ankle to the hip. So if you're having knee problems, it means that there's something going on at the foot ankle joint or at the hip joint, or a combination of both. So what I want to share with you today, in watching some of the posts and commenting on some of the posts here lately, I want to give you an updated preview or kind of what I do professionally in working with clients with any kind of foot, lower leg issues, especially restless leg. I have experienced both conditions. I do suffer of fibromyalgia, and so it takes somebody very special to work on me, because I experience pain on a much grander level than most anybody who doesn't have fibromyalgia or MS or some of those autoimmune dysfunctions. But nonetheless, I work on myself on a routine basis, on a weekly basis, and then I also see a therapist at least once every 4 to 6 weeks for soft tissue work. But since Lifepro has come along, it has given me the opportunity to be able to provide resources for my clients, because my clients don't want to come in several days a week for me to work on them. Although it's nice, it's just not affordable, and it's not ideal to see the same people all the time as you would in a traditional PT setting. Not knocking PTs whatsoever, just it's an affordability and a time management situation. So I have really good results with restless leg syndrome and plantar fasciitis. I see cases of individuals who have had it for weeks, months, years, and I can cure a plantar fasciitis case in 1 to 3 appointments. And it's a matter of going in a different direction than what most traditional treatment protocols resort to. So I want to give you some of my secrets as to how I treat restless leg syndrome and plantar fasciitis with myself, as well as with a lot of my clients, So today I'm going to feature, it doesn't matter what platform you have, all the vibration platforms will work in a beautiful way to help kind of rearrange and restore circulation and the fascial matrix. So to understand kind of how this works, and you don't necessarily hear this recommendation from a lot of MDs, doctors in a sense, because a lot of them don't realize how powerful this technology is. It's not a pill. So I wanted to share with you just in kind of how the anatomy works and why the Lifepro devices work the way that they do. And then I'm going to show you the different things that you can do. So this is your connective tissue. This is what fascia looks like on a microscopic level. It's this jelly 3-dimensional matrix of, we've got 12 different lines that allow our body to shift and change, but this is what is responsible for holding our body together. And as we predispose ourselves to stress, we get these little webs that build attachment points, security points throughout our whole body. And it creates a restriction, which means that our brain can't communicate through the same neural pathways that it would traditionally transfer energy through. And on top of that, we don't get the same circulation, because if you can see what this looks like, the more bugs you get into a spider web, the more kinks you get in pantyhose, you can't really hydrate through that. So I like to explain fascia as more like we all have several layers of what looks like fishnet pantyhose, okay? And with fishnet pantyhose, all of you ladies know out there, and a lot of you gentlemen know this from just being around pantyhose from time to time, you only get one shot for a good pair of pantyhose out of the package, right? And once you get a run in your pantyhose, it just continues on and on and on and on. And so what you do for a run in your pantyhose is you would take clear nail polish and you would dabble it on to wherever the run is to keep it from running further on. Well, the same thing happens when we get a kink or a run in our fascial line. It creates this little adhesion, little knots, And when that happens, if you know, if you were to hold up your pantyhose up to light, as soon as you bring them out of the package, you can see through them. Pretty consistent matrix in which things can travel through. But when you put nail polish or put something on it to adhere those seams so that you don't continue to run the pantyhose, if you hold that up to the light doesn't transfer through the same way. So our body and the way that our brain communicates through the electrical system, through our nerves and through the peripherals or meridians, and of course the fascia has an electrical system of its own. So when we get a little run or a kink in our pantyhose from an injury or stress or surgery or just not moving at all, that's kind of what causes a lot of the restrictions throughout our whole body in that we don't feel as good and we're not as mobile. So as we sit, just to give you an idea, this is kind of what our muscle fibers look like from a fascial standpoint. So every one of our muscle fibers is kind of encoded in this connective tissue, and then each little area, each muscle fiber that's bound with that connective tissue is then held together with another type of fascial connective tissue so that our body can give and take in a tensile pattern, okay? And so when we're looking at how many muscles we have in the lower leg, that creates that cramping or that jittery sensation or that really uncomfortable feeling with restless legs, it's because a lot of these restrictions are taking place and we don't even realize it because it doesn't show up on an MRI, it doesn't show up on an X-ray or CT scan. It does show up on an ultrasound if you know what you're looking for. And so it doesn't, and it costs a lot of money to look at all that stuff just to not be able to apply, medication, because medication really kind of settles in those tissues and can kind of aggravate it even further. So when we're looking at how all of it comes together, okay, we have this web that holds our muscle to our fat and our fat to our skin. And we have that web that connects every part of us together. So a lot of us, whether you realize it or not, we all sit in this position right here, okay? Forward neck posture. We're all doing stuff virtual, or we're all sitting at a desk, or we're all driving, and we're all looking down at our devices. And so it decreases oxygen to our spine by 40%. And guess how your brain communicates to your peripherals? Through your spine. So if you're not getting good oxygen flow because we're restricting ourselves, then what's at the bottom of the line from the brain and how everything communicates? Well, our legs and our feet, of course. And so we have to make sure that we're doing things to stay mobile, because as we sit through the day, okay, as we sit, as you can see there, forward head posture, look at the legs, look at the knees, look at the foot ankle. Everything is really short, okay? And so when we actually try and get up and stand, or when we sleep at night, and we try and get up first thing in the morning out of bed, our body just doesn't want to move because it's comfortable being short. So I want to share with you, this is what that connective tissue looks like. It looks like a muscle, but it's not. It's a whole series of this connective tissue, and we have several lines, but this is the most powerful one because most people that have restless leg syndrome feel it in their calves and in their feet and in their thighs. But this is the pattern that's usually really tight from us sitting all day. And so reasoning for this being important and why mechanical vibration is so powerful, this is the musculature in our lower legs, okay? There's a lot of stuff going on there, my friends. So if we're not mobilizing that, and if we're not stimulating that other than just doing what we do every day, and if it gets stuck, like fishnet pantyhose full of adhesive glue with a lot of runs, then yeah, we're gonna feel like crap. So I'm gonna show you how to feel better, because you can do all of this at home. And as we get older, and as we sit more, so children have more of that fishnet pantyhose look, and the rest of us have that pile of yarn, all like balled up in a big jam. And so if you have that big ball of yarn, it's really hard to travel water flow through that. And that connective tissue is responsible for like at least 70% of the water in our body. That's what holds us together. And no matter how we move, all of those lines are giving and shifting and taking. And so if one line is more tense, carrying more tension, then the body can't move along that line, which is what ultimately is going to lead to the restless leg syndrome and plantar fasciitis. And I'm sharing those two specific conditions because I know so many people suffer from those. And there's a couple of really good remedies that you can do at home without being miserable. And if your feet aren't feeling good, nothing feels good. I mean, if you can't move your feet, if you can't bear weight on your feet, you're pretty much stuck to a chair for the day without being miserable. So let's get it fixed, all right? So here's what we're gonna do. I'm featuring several different devices today so that you can see an assortment. If you have people talk about all the time that I always feature the Rumblex, and yes, I do, because I like the several motors and the 4-dimensional movements. But we have the Surger, which is a vibrating foam roller. So I'm going to show you how to do that at the end, because this is the more complicated way, because you actually have to work at doing this part. And not everybody has the ability to get down on the floor and move around and has the comfort or the patience to want to do this. But for athletes, this is an awesome tool, especially if you're performing and you're wanting to stay loose as you move through at the higher performance levels that you get to. I'm going to show you how to use that at the end. Those of you who have massage guns, I'm actually going to share with you the Dynaflex, okay? I just happen to get it out, not any rhyme or reason other than it's super light, very small, easy to maneuver, and it's super quiet. So that's the only reason why I picked this one, because I have all of them. So I'll show you. You can use any one of the massage guns. I've got the Waver Press, which is our newest Waver platform. So that those of you who have a smaller, more simplified platform can follow my lead on this one. For those of you who have the Rumblex platform, I have the Rumblex Plus. And I wanted to make sure that you all understand, those of you who already have a Rumblex platform, or maybe you want to go into the direction of a Rumblex platform, the biggest complaint that I'm seeing and hearing, and totally to be expected, is if you're using the device, it automatically kicks off if you should happen to tap the control panel by accident. I can tell you, I've done it many, many times. The butt, it just gets in the way, right? When we don't want it to get in the way. So if you're sitting on the platform and your booty just happens to roll over the control panel and it kicks itself off, like you're thinking, oh my gosh, like can the butt ever get out of the way to me getting something done? Well, it doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter if you have a small butt or a larger butt. It doesn't matter. Anything that makes contact with the platform, with the control panels, is going to kick it off. So my suggestion to all of you is, if that continually happens, either try and place a mat over the top of the control panel so that you can't dabble in it as easy, or just push restart, because it doesn't matter. You can go 10 or 20 minutes on this at the end of your evening or start of your day. Restless leg syndrome can happen in the middle of the night. It can happen right before you're getting ready to go to bed. So it doesn't matter when you access this, but that is a common question that I get all the time too, is when is the best time to do these different maneuvers for restless leg syndrome and for plantar fasciitis. For plantar fasciitis, most people have pain first thing in the morning when they step out of bed and put their feet on the floor, or right before they go to bed at night, because we tend to curl up when it's at the end of our day. And based on our circadian rhythm in our brain and how the sun rises and sets is how our body becomes more or less sustainable. So if you are, maybe you're in the middle of the day and you've been at your desk all day and you get up to go to walk to the bathroom or to go to the conference room or whatever, you can keep the platform, one of the Wavers, because they're really small, really lightweight. You can keep one of those under your desk, or you can keep one of the smaller massage guns in your desk drawer or in your handbag or your briefcase, whatever you carry. So just want to give you some different options, because I did a video about a year ago on all of this, using specifically barefoot training exercises, but I want to make sure you know the easy way to do this using the different platforms and the different devices that Lifepro offers. Because if you already have it and you have one of the foot or lower leg aches and pains, then now you can learn how to do that and not worry about screwing things up. But here's the thing, you're not going to screw anything up, because our soft tissue and our fascial connective tissue loves vibration, okay? That's why Lifepro has been so successful with so many different processes, with different people contacting us with cures or reverse of symptoms, or they're magically feeling better than they have in their entire life. So anyhow, we are going to turn on the device, but the Rumblex Plus, you can actually lock the screen. So you have to have the remote to lock the screen so that if you're actually getting on it, you don't accidentally turn it off. If you want to start from a seated position, okay, you can use a preset program, or you can actually use just manual mode. So it doesn't matter which program you use, but what I want you to think about doing, the more aggressive, the better, especially at the end of the day. So if you have the oscillation, the pivoting is what's going to give your whole lower leg the option of feeling the intensity. So you're feeling vibration is one thing, but for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if the pivot is stimulating our feet or body, our body is going to create muscle contractions 20 to 50 times per second. And as a result of that, it's a minor, if you can assume, it's like an earthquake effect happening to our soft tissue. And whichever strands are the weakest point, you break through those. So when you break through those little adhesions, strands that are not supposed to be there, that have accumulated over time with stress, then we get circulation and we get lymphatic channels opening up and we get water flowing through with electrolytes. And so it takes the pressure off of the nerves, it takes the pressure off of the neurostimulators to the brain. And so we actually get a change in how our body is made up without doing anything to it ourselves. It's all through the vibration. But it's just simple laws of action. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So it doesn't matter what hertz or intensity or G-force, it doesn't matter which level you're working at. I find for a lot of my clients with the restless leg syndrome, the more intense it is on them, the more they feel relief quicker. But it's not that case for everybody, because some of you might experience an increase in inflammation if you go too aggressive right out of the gate. So just be careful, and when you're getting going, just start with a lower level and see how you respond. Or if you get up in the middle of the night and you can't go to sleep because of restless leg syndrome, as you can hear, the platforms are like whisper quiet. So you know, you can keep it on a lower level, and it's running right now, but it's on vibration mode only. Whereas the waiver, it just continues to oscillate. It's just a change in the speed of the oscillation. So just choose a preset program. Don't worry about the manual mode. But I'm just sitting here, okay, and just letting everything jiggle. Now, the next thing I want you to think about doing is moving your toes up and down, okay? Moving your toes up and down. Because if you're not able to tell your toes to move, then we're not able to move or activate these muscles. Like, things are not communicating. And it's not necessarily a dysfunction of your nervous system, but if you don't use it, then it doesn't work. So it's like trying to read. Like you read like through elementary years, but if you don't read through high school or through college, you kind of forget certain words, or you kind of don't read as fluid as you would as if you would have just done it all along. So our brain connecting with our body parts, especially the furthest away from our brain, we want to get things moving. So another option that you can do, that I do for a lot of clients, is I'll actually put giant gel toe separators in between their toes, because I find a lot of people can't spread their toes. Like, they can't open and close their toes. And if you can't open and close your toes, you've got a lot of compression in the actual foot. And did you know that, like, there's over 100 ligaments in the foot alone, and there's 25% of the bones in the whole human body are in the foot. So if you're really compacted and compressed and like pasted together because of all those runs in your pantyhose, if you will, from my former analogy, then if your toes can't open and close, you're stuck. So get yourself, if you go to Amazon and type in under the search bar, gel toe separators, and they're ginormous. And when you actually put them on the first time, they might actually feel a little uncomfortable because you're doing something different that your body doesn't recognize. And we have an insane amount, we've got like 100 million neuroreceptors in our feet. Like a lot of the nerve endings are located in the bottom of our feet, so we're a little bit more sensitive down there. But Our plantar fascia, my friends, is made to spring load us forward. It is a give and take relationship, like acting like a spring. So what I tell my clients a lot of times, so again, I'm just opening and closing my toes. Now, to make this a little bit more interesting, we can either bring our knees over our toes, but we're not loading, that's why it's okay. And so we're increasing the shin angle, which means we're getting vibration along that shin angle totally different than if we were just out here leaning back. It's a totally different sensation. So I encourage you to move your knees over your toes from a seated position so that we are not loaded in that position. We don't want to be loaded. So you don't want to be holding a squat here. That's not an ideal situation. Not if we're trying to wind down. The vibration now is traveling more along the shin line, which is referred to as our anterior tibialis muscle. And the anterior tibialis muscle is what picks our foot up to take us forward when we take a step. So a lot of you, if you are runners or walkers, you get shin splints there along that area. So this will help with shin splints as well, because shin splints it's an inflammation process from impact, and this works really well for decreasing inflammation and opening up those lymphatic channels and getting the crap out of the system. Our lower leg, we have different compartments of vascular and musculature tunnels in our lower legs, and as we get tighter and tighter or more swollen or more edema or lymph, things just can't move. There's no room for things to move. So that's why the vibration helps with restless leg syndrome and with a lot of lower leg injuries or conditions. We're opening up a lot of those channels, whereas normally you would go to a physical therapist and they would do some electrical stim, some ultrasound. They might do a little bit of manual work through some scraping, do some cupping, and give you some strengthening exercises to do. But if we're not getting to the source of the problem, you don't want to strengthen something that's already swollen because you're just increasing more pressure. Okay, so getting back to opening and closing the toes. Now I want you to lift your toes, press your toes, lift your toes. While your toes are lifted, now squeeze those toes together, open the toes, press the toes, squeeze together. So we refer to this as neuroplasticity, which is our bodies and our brains awareness of where we're telling our body that we want it to do something and we have control over that, and it's a reaction timing thing. So the older we get, the less neuroplasticity we have with our different movements, the more sedative we become, the less we have optimal neuroplasticity. So you can actually improve your neuroplasticity as to how your brain reacts to your body through your mind delivering the signal as opposed to it just happening. And so as you do that, you're going to be more aware of what you feel. Okay, so the other thing that you can do is from a standing position, and you can have a counter in front of you, or you can use the walls for balance, but just rocking back and forth, just barely rocking back and forth. So we're not creating a whole lot of motion here. I'm just rocking back and forth because I'm loading that a little bit different, and I'm using all my muscles while vibration is happening. With the vibration, we are increasing all of those contract, relax responses because we're loaded and we're moving at the same time that we're creating that opposite reaction. So laws of motion, okay? So I'm just rocking back and forth, nice and easy, okay? And as you can see, I'm still working in my thighs. Things are still working up into my hips. But from a seated position, you're gonna feel this a little more in your lower legs because you're offloading everything else. But nonetheless, restless leg syndrome, just get on the platform at night or first thing in the morning or in the middle of the night when you're starting to experience it, and just absorb the energy, okay? But make sure that you're moving your toes, you're moving your feet, because that's ultimately what's gonna open up those pathways, all right? So that's one thing that you can do. The next thing that you can do is you can just sit on the ground and elevate your legs on top of the platform, okay? This is a totally different animal, okay? And I'm using the Rumblex here. I just picked the P1 program, and it's got 3 motors, 4-dimensional movement, so it's gonna be more aggressive than the Waver, but any vibration is better than none, okay? But what I want you to do is you're gonna roll your feet in to out, okay? as you're absorbing this energy, okay? So I'm not doing anything necessarily with my upper body. I'm just moving my feet, no rhyme or rhythm. Just, you can draw circles, you can write the alphabet, but we are activating all of these muscles as we are experiencing this vibration, okay? So in doing that, our body is very happy, okay? So that right there is about the equivalent of, I think that was a 10 minutes. So I'm gonna show you a few other ideas, because like I said, I do this all the time with people, and I've just kind of come up with the ideas as they work. You won't find this necessarily in a book anywhere. It's just my creative thinking. All right, so now we have the waiver press. And again, I didn't use this one any particular reason, other than the cool part is you got the handles, so you can hold on. Like, you don't have to lean back. You can actually hold yourself up here if you're not wanting to use your core to do this. But you can lean back, and you can roll your legs into one direction, so they're both facing the same direction. Vibrate and move those feet at the same time, so drawing circles there. We can roll the other direction, okay? So again, drawing circles, pushing the gas pedals down, so you can go in to out, so wax on, wax off, inside to out, thinking like windshield wipers, okay? And again, pumping the feet back and forth. We're just getting a lot of stimulation, activation, and vibration through all those connective tissues and all those little muscles that cause us so many little issues, okay? So we can extend, so squeeze those legs and lift and relax. Squeeze the legs and lift and relax. This is referred to as a VMO. So if you have, this is VMO stimulation. So if you have a knee issue, this is what you would do for a knee issue. And you can do this while your legs are elevated, so that you're increasing that circulation and increasing the lymphatic pumps in your extremities. And at the same time, you're gonna feel a huge difference in the way your feet feel. Huge. All right, so just very simple. Okay, now, the other thing that you can do while you're sitting here, whether you're on the floor or whether you are in a chair, if you happen to have a massage gun handy, and here I am just using the Dynaflex Mini, something very small, you can vibrate the bottom of your foot right around the plantar fascia, wherever you're really uncomfortable. So if it causes more pain, then avoid that, because we're upregulating our fight or flight reaction system. So if we're causing more pain in doing this, we don't want to do it. If you're causing more pain from a position on the platform, then choose a lower level, keep your feet closer together as opposed to wider. But we don't want to cause more pain or experience more pain when we're on here. If you feel an itching sensation, that is your body going through a detox process. So we're actually releasing toxins, and for those who have extreme restless leg syndrome, you're probably going to itch pretty quick within the first couple sessions. There are some individuals who never itch, and that's okay. You don't have to like work harder to get that itching response. You might not experience the itching, but the main thing is the itching is a histamine response, because it recognizes toxins that you're releasing from those webs in your connective tissue system, okay? So I'm just working on the bottom of my plantar fascia here at a pace that is comfortable and relieving to me. And what I want you to do as you're working the massage gun is I want you to raise and lower your toes. So curling your toes and extending your toes, okay? Kind of use your toes to wave. Think of it that way, just waving. So a lot going on here, but I'm kind of killing two birds with the same stone using the same time. So you don't have to do that, but you can. So on the flip side, if you don't have a platform, but you have a massage gun, then let's show you how to do this. Because if you're not quite sure how to do this, it's not going to help you. Oh, and all of you, if you have bought something through Lifepro, you get the free little agility ball. And that thing is awesome for plantar fasciitis. put it down on the floor and roll that around with your foot. Feels absolutely amazing. So here we have massage gun. Doesn't matter which one you have, just that you have one, okay? And it doesn't matter what intensity you go. Again, it's all a matter of your comfort zone. So, but I'm just working very, very slow. So we don't want to go super fast because we want to try and make change. And we can't make change if we're working really, really slow. I'm sorry, we can't make change if we're working really fast. So you want to work at a very slow pace. When I teach it on a foam roller, I teach it 1 inch per second. When I teach it through massage gun, mechanical vibration application, I teach it even slower, okay? And so when you find a spot that's a little sensitive, okay, we don't want you to have a tremendous amount of pain in doing this, but if you find an area that is really sensitive, stay on it, but don't press. So I'm just letting this tip, this little bitty tip, I'm just letting it float. I'm not like grinding it, like we don't want to grind it and push it hard because we don't want to create more inflammation. We're trying to help that. But we're trying to break up some of these little adhesions. And what's really important to understand, you cannot stretch your plantar fascia, okay? It's not a stretchable structure because it is made to withstand 1,000 pounds of force. It is made to spring load you forward into, taking a step forward. That's its job, is to load tension in order to propel your body forward. So for as much as your foot absorbs the ground, it springs back up. So I like to tell, so if you grab your toes and pull them back, okay? Great toe mobility is really important when we're trying to open up the fascial lines, okay, on the bottom of the foot and stretching. We have a lot of these little muscles down here which are called intrinsic muscles. And the intrinsic muscles, they only exist in the foot, okay? We have a lot of musculature which originates up here in the lower leg and it inserts or attaches down here into the foot. And then we have a lot of muscles inside the foot that support the 3 arches that we have. A lot of you think you only have 1 arch, we've got 3. So we're gonna pull the toes all the way back as far as you can tolerate it, and very slowly on a level that you can handle, we're just gonna work here to the inside of the arch and back and forth across. So you can run across, you can run up and down, and we can run on different angles, okay? Because those different connective tissues attach in different areas of the foot. And so if you're carrying excess tension from compensation patterns, then the plantar fascia can't work the way it's supposed to, and the lower leg muscles can't contract and relax because they are stuck. So, and lack of movement does that. So we have to continue to move somehow or another, even if we're just wiggling our toes. So I know a lot of you watching this video are like, okay, what's the short version of this? There really is no short version because the same thing does not work for everybody. And if you don't understand why you're doing what you're doing, then why are you doing it? It's kind of a waste of time if you don't know why you're attempting to do something. So I like to be thorough about the different options for all of you because some of you might not explore other options because you don't know that it is an option until you know it's an option. You know what I mean? You don't know what you don't know until you know. So my apologies if this is a lot longer than you anticipated it being. This feels good, by the way. Okay, so we can do the bottom of the foot. Now, we're gonna take the little baby tip off, okay? And we are going to put on the big ball, okay? Or you can use a flat tip, whatever is convenient for you, whatever feels good to you, okay? And then we're gonna work inner thigh, I'm sorry, not inner thigh, inner side of our lower leg. This is going to be ultra sensitive for most of you. On people I work on a regular basis, this part of the lower leg is like pins and needles for a lot of people. It's like if you go to massage it or you go to cup it, most people are very uncomfortable there. That happens to be your posterior tibialis muscle, and it's also the hallucis brevis, which is what's responsible for activating your great toe. So if it's turned off and we're overusing all of these muscles, then we need to get this stuff working, because if it's not working, then it's all gummed up, okay? So start gentle, and you're gonna work here at the lower part of the ankle, If the massage gun bounces, it's because you're more in a bony area. So change your angle of application, or increase the intensity, or change out the tip, or just work with, you can put a towel over it if it continues to bounce or if it's really uncomfortable. But super, super low intensity. The Dynaflex Mini that I'm using right here, it's super easy and it's easy to maneuver, but it only has 3 levels of intensity. And for the lower leg, it's really good because most people, again, that are dealing with restless leg or are dealing with plantar fasciitis, this area is ultra sensitive. But for some of you guys that are out there that are needing something ultra aggressive, or you want like the more intense devices, then you'll have to have something bigger, or you'll do the Dyna Mini. The Dyna Mini is just a little bitty thing, but it packs a punch. It's got 4 levels, and every time you push the button to increase the level, it doubles in intensity. So it's just as powerful as some of our high amplitude, high intensity devices. So I'm just working very, very slow. So, and again, when you're working here around the bones, be super careful. There is connective tissue, there is muscle there, but we don't want to beat up the bones. So if you need to put a towel over your shin in order to work through those real fine muscles there on the inside of your leg, that's fine, okay? And if you don't want to cross the leg over, you can sit on the floor. So this is another different way of doing this. I'm actually going to sit on my device to keep myself elevated, but you can sit on your device, just stretch out that leg, wiggle your toes as you're doing this, okay? So I'm wiggling my toes as I'm working the back side of my leg, okay? And you're going to do this to the outside of the leg as well, so you can work up and down. But as you see, this takes a lot longer, okay? So if you have a massage gun gives you the ability to pinpoint specific areas that are more tense or more uncomfortable, but it takes more time than if you just put your feet on the vibration platform and start moving your toes. The last device that I want to share with you is another one of my favorites. It's actually the first device that I bought with Lifepro after my platform. I bought the Hover almost 2 years ago. But foam roller, this is the serger. So we're going to turn it on to vibrate, and you're going to get on, and with one leg you're just going to rotate like a windshield wiper, okay? Rotate windshield wiper, move your body forward just a little bit, like an inch. Windshield wiper, roll forward like an inch, okay? If you don't feel anything when you're doing this, then you can increase the vibration, or we increase the pressure. And we don't increase the pressure by pushing down, we increase the pressure by putting our other leg on top and rolling like a windshield wiper. Super uncomfortable for me. This is really, it's painful for me, so I have to just do one leg at a time, okay? And the vibration is intense on this foam roller, so you got to keep it under, your leg because it'll get away from you. Okay, so we're just working an inch at a time, all the way up and down the leg. If you can fit both of your legs up here at the same time, then you are going to work in half the time. So side to side, roll up. So you're just going to do this for about 10 seconds, 1 inch at a time. 1 inch at a time, okay? Side to side, you can point and flex, gas pedals, moving the toes, okay? Working in circles. We're just trying to get as many muscles activated and vibrating as possible, okay? Side to side. Now, if we're gonna try and get here to the outside, you go to the outside of one, inside of the other, or inside of one, and you can roll back and forth. Like I said, just 1 inch per second, so ultra slow. And then let's say we get down here and we go across. So we've got a lot of muscles down here. So the more that you can access those muscles, the better, okay? And then from here, to get the inside, we're gonna roll to the inside. And again, we're gonna rock and roll back and forth, or rotate across like a windshield wiper, back and forth, And what's really cool about the serger is it's got like these little lines in it, this texture. So depending on where your body falls on it is where you feel it through the texture. Okay, so we can do that. I find most people who have, that was the quickie version of that. I find most people who have restless leg syndromes, it's they don't necessarily have it up in here as much as they have it down here. If you have it up here, you can lay on your foam roller. The other thing that you can do is you can actually lay on top of your platform. I did this earlier today during our workout. So it's just on regular manual mode here, okay? I'm going to take these push-up handles off. This is our newest waiver if you haven't seen it yet. So I'm just gonna lay with my legs across, okay? And I'm gonna bend my knees and work like windshield wipers, okay? Now, if you're worried about running your belly, you can hold yourself up here in more of an up dog, laying across. But whatever's convenient for you. So there's no right or wrong way on how to do this. You can just lay here. So we can get yourself a pillow and prop yourself up and just lay here and enjoy it. But we're definitely rattling my connective tissue. Feels really, really good. But as you can see, I tapped it off. So hopefully that gives you a variety of some different things that you can do for restless leg syndrome or plantar fasciitis. But more importantly, if you don't know where to start, get yourself a platform, doesn't matter which one. If you're wanting aggressive, then I would stick with the Rumble X series, because the Rumble X series has 3 motors, 4-dimensional mode, and you can keep it on a low speed so that you're still getting all forms of vibration. There are a lot of research studies that are out there that we've been hearing about, reading about, saying that you have to have a certain frequency or certain hertz, certain amount of G-force in order to get certain things. I want you to remember, when you are reading, researching, learning about mechanical vibration as a whole, it is really hard to isolate controls on a human body, because we all have, most of us have the same parts, some of us are missing parts. In the foot, you can actually have 2 navicular bones. You have an extra bone in your foot, which can cause a lot of problems. So most important thing to remember as you are researching what you're reading online, what you're researching in government-based studies or clinical studies, no 2 human beings are put together the same, because as we put stress on our body, the fascial connective tissue mutates and changes. That is not something that can be controlled amongst clinical studies. And clinical studies, when you're looking at the overall results, we're not considering stress hormone levels. And stress hormone levels have a lot to do with how our body senses pain and how it senses tension. So don't worry about so much on the clinical studies or what you're researching online, because each one of us, as we buy these different devices through Lifepro or whichever company you work through, each one of us is going to respond totally different. But there is one thing that is consistent that we don't have control over, but is very consistent. A lot of our customers are reporting back that they have immediate relief. And is there a way to prove why that's happening? No, not really, because we are so different and it's very costly to do those kind of research studies. But if you find something that works for you, my friends, stick with it. Because back in 2005, I had 8 spinal injuries, head injury, total body fibromyalgia, and I was a competitive triathlete, and I had already graduated from my sports medicine education, and already working with high performance athletes, already working in a fitness world. And I went from being very, very functional, very healthy, pain-free, incredibly stressed, to a vegetable overnight. And the doctors back then just said, you are a freak of nature. Like, we have no idea what to do with you. Let's take this pill. Let's do this pill. We think you have fibro, but we don't have any idea how to really objectively diagnose that through a study. because we're still learning. And that's just it. Our human bodies are all changing every second of every day. So the mold that you have today is going to be different from the mold you had yesterday and the mold you're going to have tomorrow, because our biochemistry is so different and how we move is so different. But that is the magical part of what we are. So find what works for you. And if it works for you, keep doing it and share with us what's working for you, because we're all learning from each other. And as we have these new types of technology, it is really hard to keep up with what works or what doesn't work because of the money for a study and just trying to interpret everything. But I can tell you one thing. If you wake up tomorrow completely pain-free and you used our device the day before, there's a good chance that something has happened to your connective tissue, or something has happened to your circulation, something has happened to the wiring or the mapping of what your brain represents as pain. So do what works for you, and reach out to us if you have questions. But I will tell you, a lot of MDs and a lot of physicians have no idea how this technology works, so they won't talk about it. Don't be afraid to try something, but there are some contraindications. So if you have a history of deep vein thrombosis in the lower legs, like recently, we don't want to be using our mechanical vibration devices because it will transfer potentially that blood clot, and we don't want to deal with that. Like, that is not a good situation. So if you have a history of deep vein thrombosis, if you have a history or have an active state of cancer, make sure and check with your oncologist, and make sure if you can receive a light pressure massage, you can receive vibration therapy, okay? So whichever physician you're working through with your health conditions, if you can receive a massage and if you can walk, then you can experience what we have here, whether it is a massage gun, whether it is a vibration plate, whether it is a vibrating foam roller, whether it's our little vibrating agility ball, or the peanut that we have. There are so many different things. The compression boot systems. Vibration, our fascial connective tissue loves vibration. And if something, the vibration it has the power to change how that part of our body receives information and interprets it. And we know that connective tissue fascia has the power to sense emotion and pain 10 times greater than a nerve or a muscle. So, and we know that fascia has its own electrical system separate of that from the electrical system of the nervous system and the brain. So try something. And if it doesn't work, or if you get more sore, okay, back down, decrease your level of intensity, take a day off, and see what you feel the next day. It could be that your body is adjusting, and it could be that you have a little bit of inflammation because your body's like, whoa, what's going on? Like, it's a little resistant. It's okay. But if you have questions, make sure and reach out to us, because we're here to help you. So I thank you all. If you don't have any of these devices and you need them, reach out to us and we can help you pick one out. And if you want an extra discount, you can use Amber10 in the discount code box when you check out. The Amber code discount is good pretty much anytime, unless Joel is running a bigger special, which is, Joel's awesome. So to answer a question here that I see, does the foot massager help with restless legs? The compression boots can help with that, yes. The compression boots are not providing the same vibration as what the platforms and the massage guns do, but they can help because it's mobilizing lymph out of the lower leg or driving circulation into the leg. So yes, the compression boots can help with that. When it comes to the foot massager itself, awesome for plantar fasciitis. If you can tolerate with having your legs elevated on top of it, yes, it can help with restless legs too, because it's all about opening up the pathways of the connective tissue with all of its kinks and all of its knots and all of its webs. So again, thank you all so much for watching, and we look forward to talking with you again very soon. Bye.